The Kentucky Wildcats were one of the worst teams in the SEC in 2024. Despite having some elite talent on the defensive side of the football, Kentucky really underwhelmed me this past season. We've done a video talking about Deon Walker, their stud defensive tackle in this class, but they had a number of really solid prospects at all three levels of their defense. Cornerback Maxwell Hairston was a player who I really liked this summer and unfortunately missed quite a bit of time due to injury in 2024, but when he was on the field, felt like an impact player in the secondary. In a cornerback class with some solid depth in day 2, how high could Hairston hear his name called in the 2025 NFL Draft? That is what we will be discussing in today's video. But hey guys, if you guys are new to the channel, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. Also, be sure to check out my Patreon page, where for $5 a month, you guys will be given exclusive access to my in-depth draft guide and big board, with over 500 prospects and counting. It has all the analytics and information you guys need to know to be successful this draft season, and I highly recommend checking it out. Leave a comment and let me know which prospects you guys would like to see in a future video, and without further ado, let's take a closer look at Maxwell Hairston. Hairston really came out of nowhere in 2023 for the Wildcats and put up some really good numbers. He played in 747 snaps, being targeted 67 times and allowing 44 receptions for 432 yards and 3 touchdowns. But he also had 5 interceptions and 4 pass breakups on the season and had some high hopes entering 2024 to potentially boost his stock into first-round conversations. Unfortunately, he battled injuries and only played in 297 snaps, where he allowed 12 receptions on 22 targets for 262 yards and 0 touchdowns. He had an interception and posted 4 pass breakups again, and he could be a big riser if he has a good Senior Bowl. Hairston has really good short area burst and quickness, which I really love to see. He is a pretty fluid athlete, and he flashes some really good closing speed. He's really twitchy for the cornerback position and has the fluid hips and change of direction that is desired. He has a lot of tools that you look for in terms of movement at the NFL level. I also think that Hairston shows some really good ball skills for the position. We mentioned the good closing speed, but I think he has shown the ability to make plays on the football. He's light on his feet, he has a nose for the football in the air, and that's how he's had 8 pass breakups over the last 2 years. Those are really solid numbers in the SEC, and they're going to get him drafted pretty high. Kentucky ran a lot of zone coverage and off-man coverage, and Hairston shows some really good tools there. He has a very high football IQ, and he plays in such great control and has excellent timing for the position. He reads the quarterback's eyes very well, he closes quickly on receivers, and he is able to bait the quarterback into bad throws. He's a very smart zone defender who doesn't bite and plays very disciplined. Another strength I think Hairston has is his ability to come downhill and defend the run. He has the quickness to trigger downhill, and they even used him as a blitzer in certain instances, and he was pretty solid there. I love what he has to offer in zone coverage and in an off-man scheme because he is so smart, he is so controlled and balanced, and I think that's going to get him drafted pretty high. There is a glaring issue that I have with Hairston though, and it was a very similar issue I had last year with Andrew Phillips. Kentucky is a defense that plays in primarily zone coverage. 75% of their snaps come in zone, and we really haven't seen Hairston play a ton of man-to-man coverage. And when he has, it hasn't been super pretty. In press, his technique is incredibly inconsistent. He does not have a good initial punch at the line of scrimmage, and I also thought he had very choppy footwork and a pretty underwhelming back pedal. I also worry about his long speed. He doesn't have burners to stay with wide receivers one-on-one down the field, and I don't like that one bit. I don't really like what he's shown in man-to-man coverage, and I think he needs to improve there at the next level. I also worry about his frame. Hairston has the ideal height and length, but he's listed at 181 pounds. He's very slim for a boundary corner, and I think it does hurt his overall upside, and I wouldn't be shocked at all if a team decides to move him to the slot in the NFL. He doesn't have the greatest play strength either, and I worry about that. Throughout his career, he's been a very consistent tackler, but in 2024 he was not good as he missed 27% of his tackles this year. His technique is very inconsistent, and he seems to result to arms tackles way too often, and that's an area I'd like to see get cleaned up. Maxwell Hairston is a really solid zone cornerback with good instincts, discipline, and short area burst. I love all of those tools, but I do question his overall upside, with not being the biggest corner in the world, nor having the best speed, and he's got to improve in man coverage. I had high expectations for Hairston coming into the year, but unfortunately, I thought his 2024 tape was pretty underwhelming, and he's my number 11 cornerback in the draft. He's still a good player, I just don't know if he's ever going to be a lockdown cornerback in man coverage, and given the state of the current NFL, I do worry about that. He's my number 86 overall prospect. In terms of a scheme fit, I think it goes without saying, Hairston is best in zone coverage. He has the football IQ and experience playing in zone throughout his collegiate career, and I think those tools will serve him well in the NFL. Right now, there are too many inconsistencies for me in man for me to think he could be a solid man corner, and I think he is best suited in zone at the next level. My player comparison for Hairston is Buffalo Bills DB Rasul Douglas. Douglas was a pretty scheme-specific cornerback when he was coming out, but he has developed into a really solid player. Neither are the fastest or the biggest or strongest corners in the world, but they're very smart players, they've got great ball skills and closing speed, and I do see a lot of similarities in the two's size, and I think he could develop to be a similar player to Rasul Douglas. Maxwell Hairston is elite in zone coverage. He has good instincts, ball skills, and closing speed to thrive in a primary zone coverage defense. He has to improve in man and has to bulk up at the next level, but ultimately, I believe that Maxwell Hairston will be a third-round pick in the 2025 NFL Draft.